parents, and welcome to this edition of Parent Toolbox. My name is Tracy McGlashan, and today I'd like to talk with you about grace-based parenting. I received an email this week from a foster care agency called ARC, and the writer of the email is a lady called Louise Peckin, who is the Western Australian State Manager. As you're all aware, 2020 has definitely thrown a few curveballs our way, and it has provided us with a whole heap of new reasons to be exhausted, both mentally and physically. And because we're in lockdown and socially isolating, our relationships with those we share a home with can understandably become pretty stretched. So as we're navigating this new season of lockdown, we're attempting to strike a balance in this new socially distant normal scenario we find ourselves in. Anxiety, stress and frustrations are at times undoubtedly a driving force in our reactions to the world. Louise writes that over the past few months she has found the need to equip herself with some quick skills and some reminders on how to share grace with those around her to ensure that relationships remain intact during this period and even potentially come out stronger. She refers to the book by Dr. Tim Kimmel called Grace-Based Parenting, and I'd like to share with you some takeaways that she had from this book. Firstly, allow freedom. Allow freedom within your home and within your family to be vulnerable, to be candid, to make mistakes, and to be different. It doesn't matter what genetics your children have. They are all different from each other, and they're different from you. Parenting that attempts to coerce them into being something more that like what you understand ultimately is trying to make them become like you. For example, the idea of them tapping on the table might be incredibly annoying, but it's not morally wrong, and it may not need to be reprimanded. It isn't earth-shattering, but by having a little bit of grace regarding that on your part, that is allowing and giving permission for your children to have their quirks, to be different, and to feel accepted. And that in turn will bring a new level of peace to your home. In other words, pick your battles. Secondly, reaching for the heart. Providing any child with a secure love, significant purpose, and strength through hope is very important. But how much more is it necessary during a time of crisis? In this case, of course, the crisis is this pandemic we're living through, which none of us have ever experienced before. There's so much more uncertainty and unknown and that sense of things being out of control, not just for us as adults, but also for our children. Reaching for your child's heart is more valuable than teaching them what they should do. Reaching the hearts of our children and providing them a desire to be as whole as they can be will have more lasting effect than telling them what they should be. And thirdly, respond, don't react. And how many of you are sitting there thinking to yourselves, well, that's much easier said than done. Learn to respond to questions, conflict, and other situation with grace, and learning to do this requires discipline. Louise mentions a friend of hers who used to set a kitchen timer for 5 minutes in the heat of an argument. Once the timer went on, the argument had to be paused and each person took a breath to think through their response. Imagine how different your family, your home life, the world in general would be if everyone took a moment to think about how they would respond rather than just react in the heat of the moment. And quite often we discover that our reactions are driven by outlying stresses rather than what is actually happening in front of us at that moment. And in this current climate, we certainly have a lot more outlying stresses than we would possibly normally have in our lives. You know, learning this skill will help you show grace, but it will also provide an opportunity for moments where God's grace is dwelling in your life. I hope that that's of some encouragement to you. Be blessed immensely, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.